right, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us today on the program Healthy Living. I am Adesuwa Osa Uwagie. Water, water, water everywhere. Do we really have potable water in our society? How is it that people die from water-related diseases? What do we mean when we talk about waterborne diseases? This and many more which are going to extra, or we will be extraying on the program Healthy Living. And I have a Chief Environmental Health Officer in the house from the Ministry of Health. He is Mr. Frank Nenemo, our usual friend everywhere.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you join us, Mr. Frank.
It's always my pleasure being here.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, we are kind of continuing from what we stopped last week. We did quite a lot last week, and today we want to look at water. There is water everywhere, and people wonder, why is it that we still have some problems associated with water? But before we go into that, let us look at water generally, Mr. Frank.
You know, last week it was the listening audience were so passionate about issues of water.
Yes.
It's important that we do a follow-up on that and possibly expand on that too.
Yeah, so let's look at water.
Well, let me start by saying that water is a universal solvent. It is also the cradle of life beginning on earth. Added to that, most importantly, it is an indispensable necessity. In order of importance, I will tell you that water should be next to air.
Okay. Water should be next to air. Now let's look at potable water, because a lot of people wonder what we mean each time they hear people say potable water. How do we define potable water?
Well, potable water is the one that is wholesome, that is safe, that is hygienic. You can recognize it with your senses of at first sight. That is, at first sight, with your senses, it should be colorless, it should be odorless, and should be tasteless. It should also be turbidity free. You see, water is an essential commodity. Apart from drinking and other domestic purposes, water is required for a great deal of, looking at it from industrial point of view, where industrially it is used in the aerated water manufacturing companies like the breweries and the bottling companies and all that. Okay. In nature, water is involved in the natural phenomenon of the hydrological cycle, what we call water cycle. There are sources of water ranging from rain, surface sources, and underground sources. It promotes healthy living, and it could also be instrumental to morbidity and mortality. Morbidity in the sense that diseases can result when the water is unsafe, it's unhygienic for consumption. Okay, and that is why there abound a number of water-related diseases. The water-related diseases are epidemiologically classified. H.M. Lucas and Gills, 1984, epidemiologically classified water-related diseases to include waterborne diseases. Examples of such waterborne diseases include cholera, dysentery, typhoid, paratyphoid fever, including hepatitis A. There are other types of hepatitis.
Yes.
The one that is synonymous with water is contaminated water, infected water, unsafe water is hepatitis A. There's hepatitis B that can be contracted via body fluid or serum. Okay? Then you also have what you call water wash or water shortage diseases. These diseases are like the one we call trick diseases, like skin infections, conjunctivitis due to poor hygiene, though that is also airborne, but it could be as a result of poor hygiene due to shortage of water. Then we also have water arthropod diseases, like onchocerciasis, which is a disease of the eye. It is water related because the vector of that disease breathes in water, particularly with fast running water. And of course, the malaria we are all used to, which is very endemic of of course, mosquitoes breed on
Water.
in stagnant water. Okay, mosquitoes are known to transmit, apart from malaria, they are also known to transmit yellow fever, which is also a viral disease. And then we also have what we call water impounding. Critical of that is schistosomiasis, also known as bilharziasis. The one that snail, to people like snail a lot, if the snail is not properly cooked, the one that has snail as the intermediate host, while man becomes the definitive host. The implication of that is that people who are infected with schistosoma hematobium or any of the
what are the symptoms of that? Because a lot of us like eating snails a lot.
The bladder becomes invaded, and once it becomes invaded by that hermit, because it's a hermit, then people are likely to come down with urinating blood, and sometimes they can confuse it for STIs. Okay. And then we now have what we call chemical constituents, whether in excess or shortage. If it's in excess, you can suffer from what we call dental fluorosis, and if it is shortage, you can suffer from dental caries, which we call tooth decay.
So when one starts urinating blood as a result of that infection, what is he or she supposed to do?
Well, he has to immediately, there's need for prompt, early diagnosis and prompt treatment. And that, of course, is done in the hospital.
Can it kill?
If it gets to a point, it can. If it's not handled professionally in the hospital, it can kill.
Okay, Frank, let's look at wholesome water, the one that is good enough for us to drink or to consume. How do we get it? Because putting into consideration the fact that we get our water, mainly, let's use Edo State as a case study now. We all operate boreholes, private boreholes in this state. How do we make sure that that water is good enough for drinking so that we don't come down with all of these diseases and more that you have mentioned?
It's unfortunate that we are in a very terrible situation regarding public water supplies. I know government is doing so much to revamp public water supplies, but just that the decay, the rot in the system has been so bad that it will take some time for that to be revamped. Even where individuals provide borehole, private borehole, they don't have power. As we speak now, most part of Benin for upward of 2 weeks now have no light. So it's really
even in some areas, maybe 8, 10, 1 year.
It's really very, very bad. So this issue of private borehole is going to be there for some time because, like I said, it's an indispensable. Water is an indispensable commodity.
So how do we make it wholesome? How do we make it potable? How do we purify it?
We should look for at the beginning where the water is the bore is to be sited, or the well is to be sited, because that's coming from an underground source. We should consider possible pollutants, particularly with because we are talking of individual homes now. So where the septic tank is sited or located in a premises, there should be a reasonable distance of not less than 150 feet. Let me go by feet, which is the conventional way of determining distance. Okay, so it will not be less than 150 feet or uppermost to where a pit latrine or a septic tank is
by septic
sited.
tank we mean sock away, so that those watching will understand what we're talking about.
Sex pool. A sex pool, that is CESSPOOL. It's a temporary, it's in an underground tank for temporary retention of wastewater, okay, before it is finally evacuated. So when this siting is considered, okay, you should not tap from the first layer, because there are water-bearing stratum underground. You must not start from this first layer, you must not tap from the second layer. You should start to consider from the third to the fifth or further down the impervious layer of the Earth's surface. And like I mentioned last week, we should try to render the surrounding walls impervious and get it project above the surrounding soil surface. And then around that, you form the parapet wall, and then you have another coping around it that is made to slope in case of water. Then there should be a stationary bucket, okay? Not every dictum and Harry comes there to, so there should be a stationary bucket. And over above that, you know, at regular intervals, something about taking samples for bacteriological analysis to determine fecal contamination of water, because that's the bane of water supplies, private water supplies in private home. You know, the term fecal contamination, because the fecal contamination, like let's take the typhoid bacillus that is excreted from human urine and human excrement or human waste, the big one, okay? It can survive in human waste for upward of, it's a gram-negative non-sporing rod, it's Salmonella typhi. It can survive in that human waste for upward of over 2 weeks, and in water for about 7 days, and in ice cream, because it is also waterborne, it is also foodborne, you know, and there can also be what you call fecal oral transmission, fly mechanically carrying the perching on feces that had littered the environment. You can perch on it and, you know, perch on your food. And then the person comes down. Typhoid can be very, very deadly, because initially, why it's deadly is that initially you confuse the symptoms to that of malaria until there is a wider agglutination test that will now explain that, oh, this is typhoid. Or maybe over time, the person had developed a rose-colored skin eruption around the upper trunk, which easily disappear upon pressure, you know, with the hand. Then you now know. If not, early prodromal period of typhoid, for example, early prodromal, that means early prodromal is between time of infection and the appearance of the first characteristic manifestation of the disease. Like in the case of typhoid, we talk of rose-colored or purpled skin eruption at the upper trunk. You know, the person starts manifesting. In the absence of that, you see the person manifesting headache, loss of appetite, aches and pains in the joints and all that, and then he's confused. Sometimes there's constipation, sometimes there may be diarrhea with or without diarrhea, you know. The person comes down with all this and he's confusing malaria. And if there's further delay, in fact, that's one of the problems in delay. It's a problem in our, how do I put it now?
Because a lot of us enjoy self-medication.
Either self-medication or the decision to go to the hospital, or the decision to say, it is not my portion. And if it's not your portion, then whose portion? Faith healing and all that. So that delay in going to the hospital, delay in transportation, and then delay again. Maybe when you get to the hospital, there are no hospital personnel to attend to you. I don't want to cast any aspersion. These are some of the delays that we experience. Major three forms of the delay in transportation, delay in taking the decision. Sometimes you are even waiting for your husband to, or your...
I think the major problem is the person himself, delaying him or herself.
And then you don't go. And when you don't go, then complications start setting in.
And that's when you decide to go to
that can even affect the spleen and other vital organs of the body. So that, again, has like taken me into discussing individual water-related disease, specifically with waterborne.
Let me take you back now. You talked about siting of the borehole.
Yes.
We know that in our society, whether we want to say it or not, we have plenty of Shylock landlords who would want to, because they want space. Some want to build like 10 buildings in a very small piece of land and all that because of money making. And you see them siting the borehole. I actually know a house where the borehole is sited just very close, not even up to 2 feet of where the septic tank is. And you begin to wonder, what is happening? What kind of water are these people drinking? And I can say for sure that some of them don't even boil this water. So if you have such borehole in your compound and where you stay, how does that person, you know, get good water
That is
from that borehole.
That is very unfortunate.
Because this is the borehole, this is the septic tank.
Oh,
just
that is very unfortunate.
Few meters apart.
I mean, not up to, like the way you described it, not up to 5 feet.
Not up to 5 feet.
Apart.
Not up to 5 feet apart. I know a house like that.
That is where the job of the town planners and the approving authority comes in. It's not just the job of the town planners alone. There are supposed to be, for any building to be sited, you are supposed to, you see, what is a plan? A plan is a diagrammatic representation of either an existing structure or an intended structure, okay? Giving the plan for the foundation, what the roof will look like, the roof plan will look like, what the other sanitary conveniences and arrangements will look like. And this is supposed to be the input of the appropriate or relevant health authority, including how the ventilation and the lighting, both natural lighting and artificial lighting, will be what will be the source of such lighting to enhance, you know, comfortable habitation of such.
So what happens in a situation
that case,
where we have,
it's unfortunately that scenario you have given is very unfortunate, and what those people are taking is anything. Let me say they are just drinking their.
So how do they make sure that they get good water?
They should discontinue the use and relocate that particular site for the borehole. Reasonable distance must be maintained, and if you go there now to do a water analysis bacteriologically, let's not talk even the chemical aspect now, the bacteriological aspect of that water, you are going to come down with a lot. You are going to discover.
You know, some will tell you that they have been drinking this water for a very long time and nothing has happened.
No.
What do you think is going to happen?
Well, the fact that it has not happened shows that you are asymptomatic, and that means you are a carrier. A carrier is somebody who is harboring the infection, but is not manifesting it, but is capable of transmitting it to a susceptible host. That is just the explanation. It shows that if the person is consuming such water and nothing happens, is asymptomatic. Over time, you know, that's immunity we talk about. Immunity is when a pathogen is introduced into you in whatever means, and it helps to stimulate the body whatever, you know, to respond to that infection and give you that resistance. So it's like when you give your children immunization for measles, you give immunization for other child killer diseases. It is the microbe, either in an attenuated form or in a kid form or in a weakened form, to stimulate body. So it's the same way. So whoever thinks is taking it over time, and it means the person is asymptomatic and is likely to be a potential carrier, and he can also transfer such infection to a susceptible.
Now, let's take a trip to the rural areas where most of them do not have borehole water but rely on makeshift borehole. You know, the one you connect a pipe to the roof or something, and then you get the septic tank, underground tank.
That's an underground
then
tank.
Those that actually go to the rivers to get water, because you talked about the dangers of defecating at the river or you weed there. So let's look at all those people. Okay. How do they get potable water to drink? How do they get good water?
Well, for surface sources of water, rivers, sea, ocean, pond, because there are some places, if you go up north, you'll be see pond. If you travel, you see ponds. I think what should be done is to protect that surface source. And how do you protect? First and foremost, in rural areas, you cite where to be. In fact, you divide that water into sections and close to the source. The source may be several hundreds of miles away, but it is assumed it has passed through other communities where some pollutional materials must have been added. But there's what you call, you say nature has a way of doing some of this, what you call natural purification mechanism. Even the action of sunlight is a natural purification mechanism on that water. So close to the source you'll be used for drinking. Close to the source, which is farther away from where human activities must have been taking place, which is far away, close to the source. Okay? That's why I said divided into sections. No water, what you call watering of animals. The rural area you spoke about, Watering of animal means when you see these herdsmen carrying either their goats or their cows to the pond, to the, of course, the process of trying to get those animals watered, that is to take water, they are also passing some defecation on that water. So no of such bovine animals should be allowed close to the source that is meant for drinking. Okay? And then you should also protect. You can fence it through communal work. You can fence, maybe not necessarily using cement block, but you can barricade. Okay? And do not allow weed to also grow too close from the point of where you're going to feed. Because if those weeds grow, when these animals are where you call watering of animals, they also defecate, and those weeds can trap. And of course, you cannot rule out those pathogens. Escherichia coli, fecal streptococca fecalis. These are all organisms of the coliform group that are natural floras in the alimentary tract, including human beings. That's why I was saying that people who engage in using bare hands to do anal cleaning with their bare hands, the rule is that there should be no handling of fresh feces in whatever form. In whatever form, there should be no handling of. So people using bare hands to do anal cleaning are also promoting fecal-oral transmission of diseases, because most times we don't wash our hands. You shake people with hand, you are transmitting. You carry fruit with you have not washed, you are also fecal-orally transmitting from excremental matter to mouth. And then the whole process continue. And don't also forget that even the fish we go. I'll give you a typical scenario. As a mancello some years ago. Okay. Let me use the word mancello. I went to New Benin market. I wanted to buy fish. I like eating fish a lot because the cholesterol content is not as high, you know, like the red meat and all that. And I just said, Madam, please help me to cut it. Lo and behold, help me to butcher it. It's like the fish had just taken a meal of fresh human feces. I just paid and I left because the thing was irritating. Even as I'm saying it now, I'm almost developing nausea on it, you know. So, not also forget that we also rely on this, the surface water for our source of protein. And human beings go there to defecate. But nature has a way of doing it that these animals we eat from the for our source of protein in the surface sources biodegrade this let me say human because there are some communities, to be very, very honest with you, there are some communities in the riverine area where they don't even have latrine facilities or another sanitary conveniences in their residential premises. So what do? They do either bush attack or go to
All right, I'm sure one or two persons are willing to call us now. Our number is 052-290-573. Give us a call. Let's hear from you. You need to know how to protect yourselves from waterborne diseases. Ask Frank Inenemo what to do. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a health person, but he is in charge as far as this topic is concerned today. So give him a call on 052-290-573. We all don't really know how to care for our water. Now, Frank Inenemo, some will tell you that they boil their water. How good is that?
Yes, boiling is good. It will remove hardness. Okay. It will remove, especially with temporary hard. You know, there are two types. If you did chemistry, there are two types of hard water: permanent hardness and temporary hardness, due to the presence of bicarbonate of magnesium and all that, particularly with temporary hardness. Boiling will help to remove temporary hardness. A hard water is a water that does not easily precipitate soap to produce lather. You know, it's not soft, so it's hard. Then boiling will also help to kill the microbes, because at 100 degrees centigrade, which is the boiling point, boiling point of water, most microbes cannot resist. They will die, particularly the non-sporing forms of microbes.
Okay. While waiting for our call, can you just take us back to the importance of water and how to promote healthy ways of living with water, and how it can be instrumental to morbidity and mortality.
Thank you very much. In terms of importance of water,
So we've
and how
asked
it
two
can
questions,
produce, yes,
one
one.
now.
More than 95% of our body fluid, so is made up of water. Not less than 95% of our entire body fluid. So we need it for optimal, what you call optimal physiological performance of the body. Physiology has to do with the functions of the various cells, okay, of the body. Physiologically, we need water inside us, so that's why we drink a lot of water. If you don't drink water, you can get dehydrated, and people have even read a lot about not taking enough water can even lead to formation of kidney stones and all that. Okay.
So it's important
domestically,
to drink
yes,
water.
drink plenty of water, portable and safe water. Another importance is that domestically we use water for drinking, we use water for cooking, we use water for washing, so it also helps to promote hygiene. Okay, all forms of washing, all forms of environmental control, you need water. Industrially, as a way of preparing bottled water, drinks, bottling companies need water, breweries need water, safe water, okay? We also need water as a means of firefighting. Importance of water is what I'm discussing.
Yes.
As a means of firefighting agent, it's also another importance of water. So you talk of water hydrants being placed as strategically in case there is a fire outbreak.
Yes.
Okay. Agriculturally, we need water for irrigation purpose so that we can grow our food in areas where there is no sufficient amount of rainfall. Then recreationally too, I'm sure that one you can easily explain that when people go to swimming pools, recreation, that's another area where water is also very. So you feel that it's very important in all its ramifications, physiologically, medically. It is water, the one you call injection water, that is used to mix injection. That's another medical procedure, to mix injection for the hospital to treat as a therapy to handle cases in the hospital. So when you look at it physiologically, industrially, and otherwise. Okay, we also need water for, let me look at it again from the angle of generating electricity, hydroelectricity. So all these are important.
Let's go to the instrumentality of water to mobility and mortality.
Yes, it could promote hygiene, it could enhance longevity. But when water is no longer safe, okay, apart from the fact that it can degenerate to, if there is no control, to flooding and erosion. When water is not safe and is used for the preparation of food and drinks, when water is not safe and is contained, and these microbes, these pathogenic organisms that are capable of producing and causing diseases, are things that we cannot see with our naked eyes. But they are there, they exist. But without the senses of our sight, you know, at first sight, we can recognize the smell or feel the smell, okay? See that this water has color, this water has taste, this water has odor, and this water is turbid.
But you know that
turbid
sometimes this water don't even have odor. There are no particles in them. Yet people will drink and fall sick. You remember one time in Edo, we had this issue of sachet water that was making people go to the hospital a lot. So sometimes this water, they are just as you have described, yet people fall sick.
You have said the word sachet water, and NAFDAC had warned that no sachet water after production is fit for consumption after 2 months. And
how many of them write dates on the
manufacture date is never there. And you know, the sachet itself is low density polyethylene. So when you put it under the sun, there is this propensity that some amount of the content with which that cellophane was manufactured get dissolved in that water. And that, of course, is chemical, is poison in itself. Okay? Then there could be presence of microbes which you and I cannot see with the ordinary eyes. Like I was talking of the typhoid bacillus just now. You know? And you said, like you said, this water did not produce odor. it did not, it was tasteless, and yet people took it, and they became ill, and they had to go to the hospital. So we must be conscious of our health. Life does not owe you health, just as it does not owe you wealth. You live to earn it. You work towards it.
Yes.
Part of what you enjoy, maybe some level of what you have inherited, and the knowledge gained from good knowledge of hygienic practices are some of the things you operationalize to enable you enjoy a good health. Because life, like I said, does not owe you health.
Okay.
You earn it.
Let's
you
quickly
work
take
towards
this
it.
call. Now the number again is 052-290-573. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Hello.
What I want to ask.
What's your name, please?
When we talk about waterborne disease,
Yes.
I want to ask about this purification, this water purification called water guard.
Can you speak up a bit because I can hardly hear you, please?
Water guard.
Okay, water guard.
I'm talking about water guard.
Okay, you want to know how sure water guard is?
Can we still use water guard for purification?
I'm not a manufacturer of water guard. Well, I've heard about it. I would have advised that if it has been approved by NAFDAC, which is the agency by government to certify food and drinks, drugs and cosmetics, well, it will be safe. I don't know about it. I have not really seen one per se, neither have I used as a person.
Okay, well, okay, we have another call. Hello, caller, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. All right, we'll ask that call. 052-290-573 is the number to call. Now, Mr. Frank, can you, before we go to prevention, now, can you quickly tell us some of the waterborne diseases? Just mention some.
Again? Okay,
Again,
I said
please.
it earlier. Okay.
Yes, you said it earlier.
Okay, I said it earlier.
Okay, we'll take this call down before that. Hello, caller, good afternoon. Hello? Hello? Okay, if you can just mention like five of the commonest ones.
Okay. I said it earlier that epidemiologically, water-related diseases are divided into 5, quoting Lucas and Gies, 1984.
Yes, so I want you to listen
into
up.
1, waterborne. Under waterborne, you have dysentery. There are 2 types of dysentery. You have the one we call bacillary dysentery, due to Shigella dysentery, also known as shigellosis.
What does that mean?
That
so
is
that's why I'm
dysentery.
taking you back.
Then we have another one we call amoebic dysentery.
Okay.
Amoebiasis or ent-amoebic histolytica,
Okay, let me hold you
being
there.
the
Hello, caller.
causative agent. Yes.
Let me pause you there. We'll go back to it. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Hello. Okay, we lost that
So
call.
I
Okay,
continue.
Frank. Yes.
We
please
also
continue.
have cholera. That's another type of waterborne disease.
Okay, pause, Mr. Frank. Hello, caller. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Please speak up a bit.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, I'm Mr. Michael
Okay.
from putting alum in water, is it good enough to purify the water?
Okay. Putting alum in water, does it purify the water, Frank Nenemo?
Yes, it does help for coagulation
Okay.
of the colloidal particles. And it is one of the process of coagulation is one of the process of water treatment in a large scale if you go to the water works. Okay. Yes, it does. But you should be able to know the proportion of what the quantity of water to the quantity of alum you are going to put. It should not be such that you start to feel the effect of the alum while drinking or while consuming it, because alum itself may result into hardness if not used in the right proportion. So you must determine the quantity of the water, but it does help for colloidal particles, but not to treat bacteriologically. Okay. In cases of disease outbreak like typhoid, superchlorination is required to leave a residual level of some amount of chlorine
in
the pipe supply of water in case of public supplies of water.
Okay.
But that is not the case or the scenario we have now. So individual, that's why I said it is important that bacteriologically there are some analysis, you should do take some sample. Even if there is no government lab to do it, you can go to some private lab to analyze it chemically and bacteriologically for you. And you determine the safety and wholesomeness of that. So I talked about cholera as one of the types of waterborne disease.
Let's take this call before you go on. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please tell us your name and ask your question.
Can it lead to death if somebody takes bad water?
Hold on. Can you start again? Reduce the audio level on your TV set.
I said, taking bad water, what kind of disease can it lead to? I want you to
Okay, taking bad water, the kind of disease it can bring. Okay,
that's what we are saying now. We've mentioned the waterborne diseases. As part of one of the water-related disease group of water-related disease. I mentioned dysentery.
You mentioned cholera.
The types of dysentery, 2 types: Shigella, shigellosis, amoebic dysentery, entamoebic histolystica being the causative agent. I mentioned cholera. I mentioned typhoid, and then you have paratyphoid. Paratyphoid is more of foodborne, but you use water to prepare the food, particularly with food that you take raw, like ice cream. And I said earlier that in ice cream, Salmonella typhi can stay up to 1 month, and Salmonella paratyphi can stay. Then we also have infective hepatitis A. It's waterborne. Then we have water wash or water shortage diseases. Then we also have water arthropod. Malaria is there, onchocerciasis is there. And then we also have water impounding. We have schistosomiasis. And guinea worm, I would have mentioned. Guinea worm, Nigeria has been declared by the World Health Organization
as free of it.
Declare guinea worm free. So guinea worm is no longer of notifiable, that is, it's not of that infectious level any longer. So guinea worm has been completely eradicated as declared by the World Health Organization for more than 5 years.
Okay,
now.
let's quickly take this call. Now, hello, caller. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Please reduce the audio level on your television set, please, so that we can hear you. Are we good? Okay, we lost that call. Please, when you're calling, endeavor to reduce the audio level on your television set. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, please, and I want to find out about this water you mentioned of alum. Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
This alum. You know, then when we're in the village, we do use alum to sun water. Is it good for drinking?
Okay, you missed that when Frankie Nenemo was answering
alum
that
itself
question.
is a chemical. It is used for coagulation of colloidal particles in water, but cannot treat water bacteriologically. So it's a chemical substance. So that's why I said you have to determine the quantity so that it should be proportional, because itself is a chemical, and it can, if it is in excess, it can make that water become hard. And if it becomes hard, it's no longer safe
for drinking. So
that is why the best option would have been public water supply, where you have the water chemist at the lab doing the quality control, and all you just need to do is just tap into that public water supply and you tap. So this private thing that we are doing and going to what's it called, to fetch from stream and all that, to me professionally is not safe. So, or doing it our own way is not safe. Why not?
Mr. Frank, let's take this call. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, my name is Dodo.
Okay.
Calling from Baba.
Okay, do me a favor. Reduce the audio level on your television set or move away completely from that room.
Huh?
Turn down the audio level on your TV. Okay, I guess we lost that call. Please endeavor to turn down the audio level on your television set. before you call us. All right, Mr. Frank, while we're waiting for other calls, let us look at how to prevent.
We're still looking, okay.
Let us look at how to prevent waterborne diseases so that we can be safe.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, the water has to be safe.
We know that. So how do we?
We're going to determine that.
Okay.
Because we are talking about prevention and control.
Prevention. Just hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. Hello, caller. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
You mentioned about borehole situated not too far off from
the septic tank, from your soccer way.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there no other way such water can be treated to be made safe?
Okay, there are other ways, definitely. He said, apart from siting the borehole and the septic tank close to each other, is there no other way you can keep your water safe? I think
well, that is a precaution to avoid. Biniman say no can we now can we so. That is a precaution to avoid contamination.
Yes.
Ahead of contamination. So ensure that there is reasonable distance, and then at regular intervals you take samples for chemical and bacteriological analysis.
But the problem is this: one would wonder, where do we take this water to? Which lab? Because most of the labs you see around is either you go there for blood tests or other blood-related examinations there. But you know, you keep wondering, where do we go? What sort of lab do we go to? Are those labs going to do all that?
I cannot start doing advert here.
No, you're not doing advert here.
Yes, you will start
no,
asking me to pay for
no, you're not going to mention what kind of lab. What kind of lab now?
Yes, there are a lot of labs. And there are water chemists all over town. If you ask, you will get them.
Okay.
Yes, if you ask, you get them.
Okay, so we're on prevention now.
Yes, fine. I was still talking about examples of the water-related disease. You said I should repeat, which I talk about water wash, water
and all that. Let's just look at prevention because general prevention, because time is really not our friend now.
For prevention, let's take typhoid, for example, which is a waterborne disease. For prevention, case notification is important. Prevention and control. Early diagnosis, and prompt treatment is also encouraged, which is usually in the hospital. Then case notification in case of epidemic, outbreak, cholera, typhoid fever, and all that. So case notification is important. Then at the hospital, you talk of isolation of cases. Usually isolation of cases in public health is at the infectious disease hospital. It may just be a small section, but then disinfection is also important. Disinfection of contaminated articles and formats used by carriers and cases. Disinfection, okay? Then we should also consider control of the insect vector. Housefly, Musca domestica, is also implicated in the transmission of dysentery and typhoid and cholera. So there should be public control of housefly. This small creature, just like we were talking about rats the other day, they are not supposed to be close up because you don't know where they have gone to perch on and they are not coming to you. So there must be fumigation to exclude or screening of your ventilating opening. Then control of food handlers, very important. The control of food handlers, particularly food handlers that handle food meant for public consumption. How many of such premises are registered? How many of such premises, those are questions for another day. How many of such handlers or vendors have medical certificate of fitness? You do it, they do it. And so strict control of food handlers, strict control of, so that to determine their fitness, to handle food that is meant for public consumption. Like we are doing, it's unfortunate. I wouldn't know how many people have light. Like as I was coming just now, somebody said, I used to go to appear on air today. I said, please, on your gen, if you need to watch. So health education
is important.
It's important. Well, health information is what we are giving now. But the information must resolve in positive attitudinal change for the education is said to be for the education to be said to take place. It's like asking who is an educated person. An educated person is not just a person who went to school. You only went to school to be literate, to know how to read and write. You are educated because you behave in a socially acceptable manner. So the health information we are giving, so mere health knowledge like we are doing now, it's not health education. Such knowledge must resolve in positive attitudinal change for the education is to be said to have taken place. So health education, and then I'm aware like typhoid, cholera, infective hepatitis, I wouldn't know in much commercial quantity, but I'm aware these are also immunizable diseases. Okay. Sometimes when there are outbreaks, the relevant government authorities, agencies start to do all within their powers to ensure that people get. So it's important that people, particularly, in fact, cholera, as I speak, is a notifiable, internationally notifiable effect. Okay. So if you have to travel out of the country, you will be asked to take vaccination against cholera. What that means is that if you have been vaccinated, you are going to be put on either surveillance or quarantine for a maximum period that's equal to the incubation period of that disease internationally when you travel. So for hepatitis A, for cholera, for typhoid, I wouldn't know of typhoid the enough quantity in commercial quantity they have, but I know that there are immunizations. So people, for prevention, people must go and take this immunization for against these diseases, already mentioned as waterborne diseases, so that it could be controlled, it could be prevented whenever. Then ensure that the sanitary disposal of human waste is very important. I said earlier that this bacillus that is capable of causing typhoid, for example, can resist and survive human excrement for not less than 14 days. So if human waste are sanitarily disposed properly, adequate latrine conveniences, not just in homes alone, in institutions, public places, marketplaces, schools. If you go to schools, if you go to some markets now, you'll be surprised that there are no latrine. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm using the word latrine. Okay. I'm using latrine, talking about the facilities for disposing human waste. There should be sanitary latrines, equal proportion, like in institutions, in public places. Determine the number of occupants in that institution, project the number of those. So for a unit of latrine, in case of men, it should be at least 25 to a unit. Then for women, not more than 15 to a unit. So when you project the number of occupants in that public institution, you're going to determine the number of units of convenience, including urinals. Because don't forget that also this typhoid bacillus can also be excreted through UD urine, as well as it's also the human waste, the excremental waste that comes from so sanitary disposal of human waste is very important, not only for the control of water diseases, but for all other diseases, particularly that are of contagious nature.
All right, Frank, thank you very much for being part of us on the program. All right, viewer, you have heard why you should be very conscious of the sanitation of your environment and where you live, so that you will save yourself from waterborne diseases. But adventure, you have your borehole sited very close to your sewer system. I think you should start thinking about relocating or discontinuing the use of that water or the sewer system. Just discontinue with one and site it somewhere very far
not less than 150 feet.
Not less than 150 feet, according to the expert here. So this is it for today. We thank you very much for watching. Your health is very important, and it is very much your responsibility.
Life does not owe you health.
Okay, life does not owe you health. Right, so
it does not owe you wealth.
Okay, you heard it. Life does not owe you wealth, yes, just as it does not owe you health. We'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.